Hello everyone, the Cub Cadet Goofball here, doing as promised my very first 5-hour break-in oil change video. This will be the first oil change I've ever done on this mower, so bear with me and we'll see how many mistakes I make. Alright, so first let's go over the components, the tools that you're going to need for your oil change on this mower. The first thing you're going to need is the oil. The Cub Cadet XT1 LT50, which is what this is, has a 2-quart capacity for oil. You're going to also need the oil filter, of course. You're going to need what's known as a rag for wiping stuff up. You might need oil filter pliers if your oil filter is on there too tight to do it by hand. You're going to need a container for the oil to drain into. This happens to be where the 15-year-old Cub Cadet Shih Tzu's treats come from. You're going to want a funnel, and if you have one, you're going to want a little rubber tube. This one came with the mower to drain directly into your container. Okay, so the reason, by the way, for a 5-hour break-in oil change, I guess, is that when the new engine and components are first put together, for the first few hours of runtime of the mower, you can build up like metal shavings from the new engine components, like metal dust and shavings that can end up into the oil. So you want to change the oil for the regular reasons to get fresh oil in there, but also for the first 5-hour break-in, you want to try to flush those metal shavings out of the system, which could be problematic. So the first thing you're going to want to do is maybe run the mower for a minute or two to get the oil flowing through there so it'll drain easier. So I'm going to move this stuff off the seat and do that. Alright, it ran for a minute or two and we're going to get started. Always a good idea to make sure your parking brake is on, and if as an extra safety feature you can even take the key out if you want to and disengage, make sure the PTO is disengaged. Open the hood, exposing where you're going to be doing your work. First take the dipstick out, which is going to be located right here. That'll allow the air to flow through as you're changing the oil. Just set it aside someplace clean if you can. And now that you've got the dipstick out, this is a tool-less drain, so you don't need any tools to actually get the oil to come out of the system. You just release this. This is my first time doing this. Let's see how it goes. You just release this cap, and then we'll get our tube in place, if you can see it. And I'm doing all this one-handed on my first change, so I don't have a tripod for the camera. So we've attached the hose. Now we will attach the 15-year-old Cub Cadet Shih Tzu's treat thingamajig. Let's hope it's big enough. All right, and then once we've got that in place, there we go. We are going to, what you do is I believe you just take this thing and rotate it counterclockwise, it looks like. And that rotates counterclockwise like so, and then you pull it straight out. And there we go, we have liftoff. So we're just gonna wait for this to flow until it flows no more. In the meantime, while the oil is flowing out, I just wanted to point out that I did park it on a slight hill here to make the incline favorable to the oil draining out all the way efficiently. You don't have to do that, I don't think, but I did for some reason. And it's still coming. Okay, we're down to just a slow drip here, so I'm going to disconnect the rubber tube from the nozzle, and then we will simply push this back in. Whoops, push it back in, rotate it back clockwise to lock it back in, and recap it. Okay, so the next step is taking off the oil filter, which is lefty-loosey, I think applies to loosen it. And I am going to use my, what are they called? Whatever that name is there. I got these handy dandy, pretty heavy duty pliers off Amazon for about $10, I think, if I remember right. And I'm trying to do this one-handed. Let me see. I'm gonna switch the phone to a new hand, and this is the first time where my rag has come in handy. You'll see I placed a rag under it. You never know how much of a mess we're gonna have here. So let's try turning this, counter clockwise. There we go. And we'll just keep turning it counterclockwise to get that oil filter off. And we can finish it by hand. And yeah, you can see it's a little bit of a mess. Okay, and we're gonna discard that someplace. Try to make sure you don't spill it. Okay, so that's off now. We got the oil filter off. Okay, we have the new filter here. I bought a Hoodall, Hoodell brand filter, which is compatible with this mower. Kohler offers its own oil and filter changing kit, which is a bit more expensive. For this oil change, decided to go with STP, small engine 4-cycle. For my area with the climate here, of course, I'm using the synthetic 10W30 oil. So no instructions came on this thing, but what we're going to do is we're going to fill the oil filter down to about the bottom of the this hole right here, and we'll do that first. Okay, so let's see what I can do while holding the phone at the same time. So I'm pouring it in here. You can see that up to the bottom of the casing right there, just so it meets the bottom. A little bit more, and then you can wait for it to settle a little bit. Give it a minute. I'm going to give it a minute or two to settle in. Okay, I believe that's about all the settling it's going to do. So I will now take some of the oil that's in here with my finger, and I'll rub it on the gasket to make for a little bit of a better seal when you put it back on. Okay, so here we are back at our workstation here. I've got the new filter ready to go on, and what I think to do is you turn it, you put it on here, you rotate it clockwise to get it tight again until the oil filter makes contact with, I guess what you'd call the base here. When that makes contact, you do about another 3/4 to 1 full turn tighter after it makes contact. So let's see how much I can spill here. So there we go. Uh-oh, having some trouble. Here we go. Gotta put the phone down. Not as easy to do one-handed, okay, but we got it started. And now I will just continue to turn it clockwise until it makes contact. Okay, it has now made contact with the base, so I will turn it approximately another 3/4 to a half turn. 3/4 to a full turn. There we go. Okay, now we've got our good clean funnel put into the tank here, and we will start pouring our 10W30 small engine oil in. And it takes 2 quarts, as I mentioned, according to the manual, and your individual, your owner's manual will come with a recommendation for the weight of the oil, depending on the climate where you live, how cold and hot it gets. 10W30, the 10 stands for, the W stands for winter, the 10 stands for the viscosity of the oil at cold temperatures, and the 30 stands for what the viscosity is at operating temperatures. So check your manual and figure out your climate and figure out which oil to use. 10W30 is often a good bet. Okay, so I'm putting the second quart in now. It takes 2 quarts. What I like to do is maybe put 1.5 quarts or so in, and so you don't overfill, and then use your dipstick to check where you're at. After that, you can keep filling more until it's accurate on the dipstick. And I don't know how accurate you're going to be able to, or how well you're going to be able to see this in the video with the sun and everything, but I waited a few minutes for it to settle down in there to see where we're at, and I think we need, based on this, we need just a little bit more oil. Okay, so I checked it again, and it's right, it seems to be full now. It was right, I don't think you can see it well on the camera, but it was right at the F, which tends to stand for full, or F it, we're all done. All right, we got our dipstick back in, and we're gonna end. You know, I don't know why people use the term dipstick as an insult, you know, to other people, because dipsticks are great. You know, they work well, they serve a function, and you wouldn't, without a dipstick, you wouldn't know how much oil you had to put in, right? So don't, if someone calls you a dipstick, you know, be proud of that. All right, so we're gonna start the mower back up now and check for leaks. Is always a good idea after you've been messing with the filter and the drain nozzle down here. So I'm gonna clean anything extra off, and then I'm gonna start the mower and run it for a couple minutes to check for leaks.